friends, super welcome to this video where I showcase the absolute best and most phenomenal upcoming shooter games for you to keep an eye out for in the coming month. Remember, this is only part 1 out of 2 for October, so keep an eye out for part 2 coming somewhere middle of October. Now we just came out in September and it was one jam-packed month, and it looks like October is just gonna keep on delivering and delivering and delivering. So let me introduce the best shooter games for you to keep an eye out for in October. The Killing Antidote, eh? The game that is all about dress up. Nah, I'm actually kidding. It's all about finding the antidote by killing and solving puzzles. But the description, it does emphasize dress up and some decent physics. Alright, this game is brought to us by Metal Star Studios, a two-man studio with their first commercial game. And it does actually look like quite a fun shooter. I like its horror environments toppled with what looks like some decent shooting. But I would be lying if I said that I wasn't a little bit skeptical towards the game. While it looks good and very Unreal Engine-y, some indie games ends up right out feeling bad when too much focus has been put elsewhere. And what I mean is that mayhaps the shooting and movement is left in a lesser state than the rest of the game. It really wouldn't be the first time that we witness something like that, but if you want to find out right away if that is the case or not, there is, as I'm recording this, a playtest running over at Steam. So the question is, will you go out to find the antidote and save all of mankind from the germ that turns them into mutants, or will you stop and stare at our heroine on the 2nd of October? Developed by the legend himself, David Szymanski, who brought us two little hidden gems called Dusk and Iron Lung. While he has been busy co-developing Gloomwood and bringing us Chopped Goblins as of late, finally, we get to experience the genius that is David in its full glory once again. In the form of a brutal and visceral manhunt and Condemned-inspired game, a little disclaimer though, this is simply the release of the demo for Butcher's Creek and not the full game. But what is Butcher's Creek more in detail? Well, it doesn't offer any shooting actually, but rusty tools as melee weapons. A troubled loner with a hunger for cinematic gore finds himself on the other side of the camera when rumors of an authentic snuff videotape lead him to an abandoned cabin near Butcher's Creek. What starts as ill-silt urban exploration becomes a fight for survival when he's captured by a gang of sadistic killers. Now, his only option is to pick up a box cutter, a hammer, a pickaxe, or whatever else is at the hand, and unleash a little video violence of his own. God dang, it sounds great, doesn't it? And it's rocking that Source Engine vibe with some lost tape filters over it. A perfect combination for that extra gritty look if you ask me. But hey, instead of asking me, you can find out for yourself on the 12th of October. Harbinger, my friends. Totally get the idea of blending modern graphics with the old, and it works so freaking well, creating some beautiful environments and satisfying combat along the way. Harbinger, my broskis, is a completely free new boomer shooter roguelike from no other than Dobrax, a broski himself, who also brought us the free boomer shooter called Cryptis. Now Harbinger takes us on a journey of unlocking new weapons and abilities as we mow down foes of enemies in arenas to collect their precious gems. Now it isn't the most in-depth shooter that you will find in this forsaken world, but it is a solid shooter that boasts great movement, weapons and enemies, set in beautiful environments blending the new and old. And the progression is solid. You will be able to unlock new weapons and abilities like double jump, a flying dash and more, just don't play it on too easy of difficulty. Trust me when I say that a little bit of challenge is not wrong for this one. In other words, go wishlist this right now. It won't cost you anything but time, and it's more than worth it. So get ready for October the 4th. Fallout meets a neon-drenched cyberpunk sci-fi world? What? After awakening in a secluded star system, you soon discover a fractured human society grappling with an emerging android threat that of course needs stopping. And to stop it, you get to explore planets, uncover mysteries, and navigate differing philosophies, and your choices will shape how the story unfolds. Now of course, being an RPG, you expect some skill management as well as attributes, character customization, and a ton of more RPG related things. Almost touching a little bit on the in-sim side of things. But I have to mention, as just with the first last game that I showed, it has a bit of that indie Unreal Engine look to it. It looks great, don't get me wrong, but it looks a little bit on the staler side of things. And out of experience, I am a little bit skeptical or worried that it's going to have that Unreal Engine stainless to it that so many other indie games have. You know, the ones that don't tweak it just right. But hey, don't take my word for it yet, as I haven't played the game, and even with the stainless, it can and actually looks like a very ambitious game that has the potential to turn out as an epic journey on the 4th of October. It's metal as fuck, it's shooting, it's hell, and it's all of the things combined, creating one of the most outstanding modern Doom-like rhythmic shooters ever. It's Metal Hellsinger, not to be mistaken for Hellslinger, which is a GC Doom boomer shooter that is absolutely fantastic. Now, Hellsinger has already been out for a couple of years, but it's getting a VR treatment, and while the trailers it looks super, and I hope it is super, but simply playing it in non-VR is like a roller coaster ride trying to dodge, move fast, and hit the beat with your shots. And I cannot for the life of me even start to imagine what kind of a sick and twisted roller coaster ride this must be in VR. Doing all of those things and then slapping it on VR? Oh mama, this is like the last game I would imagine playing in VR. But hey, it's a really solid game, and for my VR lovers out there, let me know how it plays out on the 3rd of October. Are you liking what you're seeing so far? Remember to hit that subscribe and like. And while you're at it, join the Discord link down in the description. It's a fantastic place. Now, let's continue. Kill Knight is an ultra-responsive, arcade-inspired isometric action shooter. Condemned to eternal sufferance, deep within the voids of an eldritch arena, you must wield an arsenal of devastating weaponry to obliterate swarm of otherworldly horrors and master the demon within. It just sounds better and better every time that I read that. And now, as you might have heard me say, this is an ultra-responsive, arcade-inspired isometric shooter, and what that means in short is that this is a hard game and it's not going to let you breeze through it, if you don't select the easy difficulty, that is. And hey, I'm not judging, just so you know. So the gameplay, apart from being hard, is in a roguelite fashion. Your goal is to push forward through 5 layers, whereas if you complete different set challenges, you get currency to upgrade your warrior. And for those who is still wondering, yes, the game offers shooting. It's a combination of melee and guns, and you can really pull off some slick combinations with it on October the 2nd. Monomyth, my Monomyth. Finally, it's dropping into early access. It feels like this game has had a demo forever, and that demo, in all honesty, started out quite rough, but it's been well updated since then to reach a class of high quality, and I have little to no doubt that the early access carries this high quality with it. Now, there is a lot to talk about with this game, but since this is not any form of in-depth showcase video, but rather a quick one for you to know what to keep your eyes on, I will keep this one short. Monomyth is through and through a free roam game loaded with tons of items, attributes, magic, weapons and armor, heavily relying on you to figure out what to do next. It features a highly interactable world where the line of video games and what is possible, it actually blurs a little bit. Lighting a stick on fire to burn a rope could very well be a possibility in this game. Okay, that's quite a bad example, but you get what I mean here. And if you want a more in-depth feel of the game, the demo is still up and ready to be played, or you could always hold off until October the 3rd for the early access release. A top-down co-op roguelike shooter that looks very colorful but oh so fun. Yep, this one will put you through trials one at a time, where each trial will make you just a little bit stronger and take you one step closer to becoming the wizard legend. And if that wasn't enough, it's got co-op. For the early access release on the 3rd of October, we will be able to play in teams of 2. But for the full release sometime later, the possibility to play in teams of 4 will be a reality. But it is fully playable solo as well. It's completely optional, but it sure sounds like a lot of fun mashing through the trials in teams with friends on October the 3rd. What? Another demo, Slim? Ah, it's not just that, friends, it's also another dungeon crawler. Hark the Gowl is a dungeon crawler where behind every corner lies a discovery, a deep, handcrafted world that feels tangible and immersive. And luckily, the demo is around 1 to 2 hours long depending on how slow and explorative you take it. But what I really like about this one is its PlayStation style graphics. There's just something about this fantasy world that feels so highly detailed and at the same time it doesn't. Something about it that makes it feel so manageable and accessible, and at the same time it looks like a really challenging game. And oh, I just found out that it actually draws inspiration from Dark Souls, so in other words, it's probably going to be quite a hard game. Nonetheless, it's a good feeling and I will most likely check this one out closer on the channel. And while the full game doesn't release until 2025, you can still check the demo out on the 14th of October. Ooh, this my friends is an open world zombie survival game set in a quarantine city. You play as a student left behind due to missing the evacuation convoy. Together with classmates and other survivors, you must defend the school, survive and await rescue. Hell to the mother flippin' yeah! I mean, look at the amount of zombies on screen at once. Holy macaronis. 5 seconds into the trailer and I fell in love with this game. Now let's make something clear about this game though, as I think both the description and trailer is a little bit deceiving here. So first of all, it does not feature any co-op, or at least there is no mention of that anywhere, which at first I thought when it said together with classmates. But hey, I don't mind a single player game, so really it doesn't matter to me personally. Now secondly, it is not a wave-based shooter. Your only goal is not to set up defenses and protect the school. It's actually an open world game loaded with a dramatic story that unfolds as you progress via cutscenes. And that excites me in a very good way. Dread Dawn drops on the 1st of October. Slim, are you out of your freaking mind or something? Another super tight twin stick shooter? Yep, you bet, but this one focuses solely on shooting. Shooting with a twist. You see, the enemies can have a sort of infighting scenario. Their attacks don't just hurt you, but their buddies as well. And while the game offers procedurally generated levels, a progress system and hordes of enemies that gets harder and harder to kill, the developers state that this is not a roguelite. And what differentiates it? Well, you get to keep what you found. Death is not permanent in that sense. Your progression is still saved, but you jump into another procedurally generated level as you die. So in other words, this is one about finding the best loot. Maybe a looter shooter, maybe not, I don't know, but it contains different rarities of weapons, and whatever you find is not lost upon death. And honestly, I quite freaking like that idea a lot. It drops into early access on the 4th of October. Hey! That's how you headshot melee, folks. Look at those beautiful headshot animations. Quark is a game that I've covered twice with reviews already. One for its first initial EA launch and the other for episode 2, seeing as the game went from rather rough to pretty damn good. And now, my friends, it is time for the final 1.0 and episode 3 launch on October the 3rd. So what is Quark? Well, simply put, it is a first-person shooter game that blends a bit of fast boomer shooter mechanics with some slower, more explorative and atmospheric Half-Life mechanics. It never really goes over to one or the other side too much, but it stays in a good line in between and makes for a unique and fun experience set in a fictional version of the 80s Czech Republic. More specifically, an underground facility that is falling apart more and more the further into the game that we get. Shady Knight is a first-person skill-driven melee action game centered around swift swordplay, acrobatic archery, and fluid platforming that seamlessly blends combat and parkour skills into a stylish dance of death, full of creative chaos. And judging from the demo that is up and playable right now, this one hits the mark when it comes to nailing what it sets out to do. It feels amazing to play, it's very easy to get into, but it feels super hard to master. And with a ton of different combos, a unique combat system, this feels like it will deliver fun to be had for hours upon hours on the 9th of October. Here comes another boomer shooter, a very promising looking one at that. Gravelord, my friends, is a fast-paced first-person shooter in the vein of Doom, Quake and all the other wonderful classics of the 90s. And in Gravedigger we get to play as no other than the Gravedigger. A funny but brutal character loaded with one-liners, much like Duke Nukem in Duke Nukem. But that is not all that he comes equipped with. His most trusty weapon is a shovel that will bring his enemies with a first-class ticket right down to the underworld. But of course, that is not the only tool of destruction. The game is loaded with different powerful and punchy weapons and abilities to spice up the gameplay and make it unique and fresh. And I really like the sound and look of this. It's rocking some sort of retro/cell shaded look to it, but none of it looks to be on the extreme side. It's like a nice blend of both that really works to create a gritty but fun looking world. And we can see a taste of it ourselves on October the 3rd when the demo drops. Friends, thank you a million times for watching. I hope you enjoyed the games that I showcased for you today, and I hope that your wish list is even bigger now than it was before you started this video. And remember, if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe. Slim, over and out.